Hello and welcome to another episode of the Flatlander Kennels Podcast with Chris Jobman. We are back for another one today, and we've got an interesting guest that Chris brought on. Chris, go ahead and tell us what's going on today and introduce the guest and everything we're going to be talking about.
Hi, Elliott. Hi, everybody. Thanks for listening. So my special guest today, I finally gave in to all the begging and stuff and the constant text about he wants to be famous. So we brought on a good buddy of mine named John Michael Rohl, who I met in 2000. He says 2008, and I don't remember the year. But this will be an interesting podcast. This will be a good journey. This will be more of a story time podcast, so to speak, because John Michael has a very interesting story about a dog named Deke that he used to own, who's passed away now for a number of years. And that's how we met, and now it's pretty much ruined his life because now he's a professional dog trainer. But John Michael, how are you, buddy?
Good, sir. How are you guys?
Good. Thanks for coming on. So I guess before we get going too deep into this, tell everybody who you are, where you're from, what you do now, on all those sort of things. Give us a little background on you so people understand what you got going on.
Okay, awesome. Yep. So retired from the Air Force in 2022. Met you in 2008, 2009 on I guess that was like a water dog TV post or something like that.
Back in the day, Elliot, there was a few of us. There was like 12 or 13 of us. We were on a thing called Team Water Dog, which is no longer kind of going anymore. But what we were a group of guys like myself, Chris Aiken, all them guys. We were a group of guys that kind of technically worked for Avery before they were Avery and Bandit. We worked for Avery, and we went around the country giving seminars and just being part of the Team Water Dog team. And there used to be like a message board or something on there. John Michael, refresh my memory. It used to be a message board or something, right?
Yep. It was a message board, and we just moved from Alaska down to South Dakota. You were in Nebraska, where you're still at. And we put a post on there like, I got a really great dog, and I'm coming out here and doing all this, and Mike Lardy wants this dog, and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So
it's true. It's a true story.
Yeah. So John Michael, which I actually renamed John Michael Jim because his name's John Michael. He's not John. And he's not. And he said, "Well, you can call me JM." And you know, and me, I'm being lazy. Like JM, like that's too hard. So I just named him Jim. And so I called him Jim, and that thing stuck for it. Did anyone call you Jim anymore out there?
Absolutely.
Do they really?
Yeah.
I named him Jim. I named him Jim because I couldn't say JM, so I was too lazy to actually say JM. So I named him Jim, and it stuck. It stuck for since then. But
the two syllables are hard.
They're hard. So Jim. So Jim, tell everybody what you're doing now. You retired in 2022. What are you doing now?
Yep. Training like just gun dogs, and I say just gun dogs. I mean, that's a big thing, just gun dogs. But yeah, training gun dogs, and yeah, I mean, that's what we're doing now.
You don't run tests anymore?
No, sir. No, do not.
You lucky guy, you. But so how I first met. Let's just get this party started.
Yeah.
So he messages me him and his wife Amanda messaged me out of the blue, and they were living in Rapid City, South Dakota, which is about 4 hours straight north of here. And they said, "Hey, I want to come down and train with you. I got this really good dog. I want to see what you think." I said, "Come on down, not a problem." Well, the first day John Michael came down, that was also the first day I met Dane Johnson. No, excuse me. I met Dane Johnson at a test or someplace training, and then he messaged me about coming out, and then Dane is now a professional trainer. Dane worked for me for 6 years. We had a really good thing going when he was here. But that's the first time I met Dane. That's the first day I met Jim. That's the first day I met Amanda. I had another kid working for me named Jared who had a Chesapeake. But so we go down, and this was back in the heat of the moment and the heat of the days. Well, that's when I was running the SRS, I was running the quals, and I was doing all those things. I wasn't running the Master National because the Master National wasn't a title. It was just a designation. It wasn't a title on their pedigree, so I didn't run the Master National. But I was hot and heavy in the SRS, team water dog, going all over the country doing what we did. And we come down, and those are the days, if I remember right, is we used bumper boys back in those days. And what bumper boys were a remote dummy launch and release system with like those nail guns you see that have the little primer nails that hit the nails in the concrete. That's what would launch those things out. They worked really good. And that's how we threw our marks. I had like 4 12 shooters, and that's how we did our marks a lot. And we went to this place called a place that we own called the Creek, which is a really nasty big piece of tech water. It's tough. And I set up, and John Michael, Jim's like, man, I got this dog. Mike Lardy wants this dog. He's the best dog you've ever seen. This dog can mark lights out. I mean, this dog is going to be unbelievable. It's the best dog you've ever touched. I'm like, oh, man, that's good. I can't wait. And I set up a setup on purpose, and Deke is still looking for the mark to this day. I thought Jim was looking for any place to hide under a tree, under a log, in a hole. And I mean, if anybody knows anything about dogs, the second you go bragging on them, they make you look bad. And Deke made him look even worse than he already does. But it was. So
Jim, did you really say it was going to be the best dog he had ever seen in his life, or is he embellishing that?
Absolutely, 100%. I said that, and of course, so you've got to look back.
You're an amateur at that time. You're an amateur.
Yes, yeah. I'm just a guy with a dog. So the backstory on this is we bought this dog out of the Anchorage Daily newspaper in Alaska. Okay, trained that dog, and he was a really great dog. And then we brought him down to the lower 48, and guess what? He's still a really good dog, but
he was the best dog in Alaska. I mean, there was only 3 dogs in Alaska at the time, but he was the best one.
He was the best of the 3.
Yep, it's true. But so we had him. Of course, Chris can attest to this. We had this dog, and all we did was momentum training. And me and Chris, after that little deal that we had where Deke couldn't find a mark,
after the tears dried up and stuff, and he came out from hiding, then we talked.
Yes, correct. Yep. And then Chris took us out to lunch, me and Amanda, and said, "I don't want your dog. You need to try to figure this out and kind of go from there." And that's kind of what we did.
But Elliott, that is a true story. He's like, this is gonna be the best dog you've ever seen. Mike Lardy wants this dog. I'm like, really? Let's do it. And it was a very eye-opening experience for both of them. We've been great friends ever since. But he bought this dog, out of the Anchorage newspaper, for $400 or something. Is that right?
$800 And of course, the dog was supposed to be our anniversary present, which it was. Dog probably should have been named Annie, but it was named Deke. Yep.
We used to call him Dekehead. Dekehead. He's 100% right. He's all momentum trained. I mean, I'm like, and he was fast and stylish, and he was a great dog. And I'm like, look at him run fast, but like, you don't even know where you're going, but I'm going fast. That was Deke. He was flying around, and it's funny but a good testament to Jim and Amanda is that, they bought this dog for $800, and John Michael did most of the training, but we rotated training. He would come into training with us. I'd run him in the Grand and the SRS and all that stuff. It ended up being a 4-time Grand Hunter Retriever champion, Master Hunter, SRS finalist, the whole 9 yards. But the dog was $800 dog out of the newspaper in Alaska. Like, literally, this is the first dog ever. He just bought this dog. Ended up being a hammer. Ended up being a fantastic dog.
Yep. And then ice skating rinks in Alaska, doing 3-handed casting and all that kind of stuff. So it's cool story.
Yeah, and it's funny because I remember after that day, we obviously I sent him home with a bunch of stuff to work on, and he'd come down quite a bit and train. I remember one day we were training in the snow down here running inline singles. You remember that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We
set up that drill.
Snowing hard, but it's a great story, and I'll try to get John Michael to put the video on our Facebook page. But he's got a video from the old days of the SRS when we were in Alabama, and Deke came from behind. I mean, he came from nowhere. He was after the first and second series. First series he had a terrible score. Second series was a pretty good score. He made the semifinals, but he was so far behind there was no way that anybody thought he would catch up. And he actually caught up. And damn near won it, but he caught up to everybody and ended up getting third in the SRS in Huntsville, Alabama, when he was completely out of the picture, and he just started putting series together like a hammer. And the thing about Deke that what made him so great is he had great eyesight. He wasn't always the best team player because he was an independent dog because of all the momentum training when he was young.
100%.
But once he got older and slowed down a little bit, he had phenomenal eyesight, and he wasn't scared of anything. I mean, you throw a 450-yard mark in Huntsville, Alabama, and Deke's like, I got it, and he'd be right back, and he'd go get it. Or if he didn't see it, you could set him on a line. And Deke was a real optimistic dog, and we talk about that all the time. You could set him on a line, and he knew something was out there, he would go. And he was a cool dog just because he's just so talented, and the story behind him was great. He's actually on our wall of champions here, our board champion, so he is definitely an FLK legend. He was a phenomenal dog, and back then, Jim, and Amanda were big time into the SRS and Avery and supporting the game, and if I remember right, Jim, you still do some stuff for Avery on the weekends, don't you?
Yep.
So, but yeah, it's you still do all that stuff, but he was a cool dog, man. And so that started Jim's life where he's at.
Yep. So what really started that is you took him to an SRS in Union City, too. And he was like an HR dog. Right?
I remember that. I was freezing. That was one of the coldest I've ever been in my entire life was Union City. Yeah, I do remember that.
He was an HR dog, and I think Chris Aiken was still running SRS back then too. And Aiken was like, "Where the heck is this dog coming from?" And you're like, "He's just an HR dog." And he's out there.
He had a title.
I still haven't got the ribbon. Yeah,
season title. He's running the SRS. I mean, he was a phenomenal animal, but he was a lot of work. But I got him 1 Grand Pass, and Jim got him 3 Grand Passes. But we trained a lot together. He was in our group, and we trained a bunch together before he moved to Indiana. But so now you've moved to Indiana. Deke is what started the entire thing. What year did Deke pass?
November 10th of 2018, maybe.
Yeah, so it's been a little while, but he was a phenomenal animal. But it was just
I'm a little curious about you guys kind of jumped a little bit in between when you guys first met, and obviously the dog ended up with you. After you guys met, how did that transition go with the rest of Deke's life? Obviously, somehow, Chris, you ended up with Deke in your kennel.
Yeah. So he would jump back and forth. So he would go home with Jim, and Jim would train on him. And then once the hunt test season got going, and we wanted to run SRSs, and he would come to me for months. And then Jon-Michael would drive down from Rapid, and they would help train and hang out and watch and the whole deal. But he would go back and forth between the two, and he'd go home, and then they would train. He'd come down here, and I would train and run him. I didn't run him in a lot of weekend hunt tests. I really didn't. I ran him in some. I got his master title and his Grand Passes, but I didn't run him in a lot of weekend tests. Oh, this reminds me. I got a great story about Deke. So we run, and John Michael wasn't there, but we run a master test in Fort Collins, Colorado, and the Go Bird was a shot flyer out in the middle of a pond, just literally out in the middle. It was 120, 30 yards. It was out in the middle of the pond. They were trying to hurt memory, so they would throw the first 2 marks out, and then they would throw this big long, shot flyer out in the open water. And so they do all this. They throw the first mark. They throw a second mark. The shot flyer comes out, and they shoot the damn thing. Well, they hit it and lands on. I don't know if you remember this, John Michael, or not, but it lands in the water, and I send Deke. Well, halfway out to the mark, the damn duck wakes up. And it pops his head up like this, looks around, and here comes this black alligator. You know, it took Deke. They didn't call a no bird or anything. Deke swam around and caught that damn bird. I'll bet he was out there for 15 minutes.
He was doing diving.
The duck's diving. I mean, Deke was a hunting dog. I mean, he was a hunting dog first, and this dog is diving. This duck is diving, and he couldn't catch. I mean, this was like for 15 minutes. And this is forever. And the judge is like, "Yeah, let's just call a no bird. You know, do it again." Well, my problem was you didn't know if Deke was ever going to leave or not. He wasn't the most steady thing in the entire world. And this was the third series. I'm like, no, let's not do that. He'll catch it. Let's just give you some time. He ended up catching this duck that was winged in a. You got to understand something. This is a 5-acre lake pond thing. He catches this duck out in the middle of this thing. He literally he wears the duck out till it can't dive anymore.
Yeah. Then
he brings it back. He brings it back and goes whack whack, kills the next two marks like line to blind or something. But it was a phenomenal effort on his part. But that was just Deke. He could. Deke was funny because he would screw up some easy things, like the easy stuff he'd screw up, and the harder it got, the better he was. It was the weirdest thing, but that was a phenomenal. I just remember that was cool. I just now thought about that.
So, at what point did you decide to send Deke to Chris? And had you been the sole trainer of this dog up until that point, and you just didn't think you could take it to the next level at that point in your training career?
So yeah, both. So I bought this dog out of a newspaper, had no idea what to do with it, and just momentum, and then put a post on Water Dog TV. We came to Rapid City from Alaska, and Chris kind of made the post there, reply back on that little forum and said, "Hey, come on down whenever you want." So that's when I met Chris. I mean,
and you drove
Chris,
all the way from Alaska?
No, he was in Rapid.
No, so I transferred from Alaska so I was still active duty Air Force at that time. Got transferred to Rapid City, South Dakota, which is only Chris, 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah, it's about 3 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. And then his life has been ruined ever since.
It has. But it has, but for the better, I think. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
It could be about your transitioning in your life. Because you're a full-time trainer now, right?
Yeah. John Michael, tell us about like when you were an amateur and you retired, and tell us about what it took and your story from going, because there's a lot of amateurs out there that want to be a professional dog trainer. And they don't understand. A lot of these people don't understand what it takes to be there's a difference between a pro dog trainer and a professional dog trainer. And the people don't really understand what it takes to be a professional dog trainer. Like the cost, what you got to do, deal with the clients, the dog's health. Just give us your insight. If I was an amateur dog trainer and you were a good amateur dog trainer, but what made John Michael different than everybody else back in the day, he was a true student. Like he was a student. Like you tell him to do something, he would listen. He'd draw diagrams. He said, "What do you think about this?" He was a true student of the game, so that's why he's at where he's at. That's one of the reasons why Deke was such a great dog. But so if I'm an amateur dog trainer, and I go to you and say, "Hey, what do I need to do?" Tell us about your journey, and if you're an amateur dog trainer, what you need to do to become a professional dog trainer, like a real one.
Yep. So follow a really good pro. Listen to the flow charts or all that kind of stuff, and then pick out what's great for your personal dog during those flow chart progressions.
Okay.
Which is awesome to say, because most people just pull up a flow chart and be like, "Yeah, cool, got it," but they never actually train it. They don't do the reps behind that.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions on our podcast page. That's a good point. Is they say I've done the basics, but I probably didn't do them good enough. I've done this, but I probably didn't do them good enough, and that's where people get in a hurry and not don't truly fully understand what it takes. So tell us about personally, like your personal life. Like it's a strain on relationships and marriages and the cost. And I mean, did you think it was that hard and that expensive what was your main obstacle when you were starting to do all this on building your kennel and all that thing?
Yep. Pouring concrete. Of course, we built all this up from, we've 10, 15 years as far as getting all that set up and property set up and all that kind of stuff. And of course, we started training dogs. We were training dogs when Deke was still alive.
Yeah.
$200 a month. $150 a month. All that kind of stuff. Pay for food. We'll force fetch that dog. All that kind of stuff. And then, of course, all that money just starts stacking up. And then next thing you know, you retire from the Air Force and you can build the kennel, which, we did that 10 years prior to that.
Yeah. So this was always your plan.
Yes. Yep. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I got you. Well, that's good. And you did it right. So you actually, contrary to popular belief, you didn't steal clients from trainers. You didn't go out trying to solicit other trained dogs. You literally you trained dogs for literally next to nothing so you could get your hands on dogs to train dogs and learn. And
Correct.
You're not stealing clients like everybody else is doing. And on, back then Facebook wasn't a huge deal, but it was a thing. But John Michael did it right. I mean, he touched so many dogs that this was his plan from the get-go when he retired was to train dogs. But he didn't steal clients and do all that BS like everybody else is doing. But he built it up right.
Yeah. And
so why did you decide to go away from the hunt test stuff?
Just because I want to focus more on the young dogs and the hunting dogs. Because some people want to chase ribbons, which there's nothing wrong with chasing ribbons, but I've been there, I've done that, and if the clients want to do that, that's perfectly fine. But some clients just want a really good gun dog, and they do all the ribbon gun dog type stuff, or just do it well. But that's not the, I guess, the plan or the business plan for the kennel. It's more of quack, 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 boom, boom, boom. They can go run a 300-yard blind retrieve, pick up 7 marks, and guess what? I'm home on the weekends. I don't have to go to the Grand, go to the Master Nationals. Don't have to do all that kind of stuff. Our dogs still do the exact same thing, but we're not on the road every single weekend. So that's like, goes back to Chris, to your deal about the family and all that kind of stuff. We kind of slowed it down and said, our dogs do the exact same thing, but they might not have ribbons. Don't really care. We don't have a breeding program or anything like that. That's just our.
And Mike Lardy's retired now, so he doesn't want any of those dogs, so you're safe.
No. He doesn't want Deke either.
So let me ask you this question. So that your clients aren't running any hunt tests. Are there things that you do different with the dog, just knowing that, hey, this dog's not going to run a hunt test, so this particular skill set doesn't make a difference, or is it exactly the same?
Exactly the same. I had 3 clients this year that went home, and they're AKC senior hunters after the first year. And I didn't run a single dog in a hunt test. Their clients did, because that was important to them.
That's cool. Yeah, that's good. But don't you run like a hunting club or something too?
No, I do not own a hunting club.
No, don't you run one or something like you're deer hunting and you're snow goose hunting? And
No, it's all buddies and clients that come out. And
I got you. That's cool.
So every client that I have has a couple of pits around here, and we train really good gun dogs, and they have a place to go hunt them there.
And you're in Indiana. We're at in Indiana.
No, I'm in Illinois.
Perfect. Same thing.
I love you.
It's the same thing. Illinois is more of a communist state, but than Indiana. But it's the same thing. He starts with an I. I did pretty good.
Yep.
Where in Illinois?
A Fairmount area.
Is that
Fairmount?
north, south, east, west?
Yeah. It's central east. East central.
Yeah, I got
How's
you.
the waterfowl hunting there?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah. This isn't live,
Tell it-
right?
Tell it.
I never think of Illinois as being that great.
It's like, is there any public land? Hey, do you have teal in Illinois?
I'm on Google Earth right now looking.
Yeah. I will send you. Yeah. This is not live, right?
No.
It's not
Okay.
live, but we're posting it.
Yeah.
It's
All right.
going on, though. The video's going up.
I mean, if you say something you don't want me to post, just tell me and I'll flag
Okay.
it. But if you don't tell me, it's going on. So
I'll text Chris the address. You can kind of see it. You guys are more than welcome to come out whenever you want. It's pretty good though.
yeah, I'm not looking to go anyplace, but when I just am curious as to where people hunt, so I like to look. But
Yeah.
that's a stretch.
I
for me.
don't. I have a hard time leaving here to go hunt anywhere. I go hunt with Chris, and that's about it. But if there's blue wings around there, Jim, do not tell a kid about it because he will be living in your house.
I love blue wings. That's for
Oh,
sure.
I know. That's our thing. That's your thing.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah,
here, look. There's
I
actually
may
blue
come out
wings
to
on the
FLK
pond
and
at the
just
moment.
knock on the door some teal season and be like, "Hey, you got any places I can hunt teal, sir?"
Yeah.
No.
Like, no, get out of here.
No, I don't do teal. Well, they're fun, but I just don't have
Well, you
time.
don't have to go with me. I'll go. I'll hunt your property. You don't have to go with me.
Yeah, that, you can knock yourself out. I'd love to see you belly crawl teal.
Hey, so
I don't know.
Chris
that I'd
Aiken's
belly
story.
crawl them, but-
Oh boy, we got a Chris Aiken story. I can't wait. I can't wait about this one.
All right. So well hold on.
Well,
This
hold on, John Michael. Let's set this all up. But so back in the day, John Michael was in our training group, our grand group. Chris and I have been training together I think this is our 18th year together for every national event. But back in the day, John Michael was in our training group before Eric, before Rhett and all them guys, and he was in our training group, and so he's been around Chris quite a bit, and so he knows Chris pretty good. All right, let's hear the story.
Okay. Was that the setup?
Yeah, that's the setup.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. All
That
right,
way
awesome.
people understand that you've been around us quite a bit back in the day.
All right, 10-4. Yep. So we're leaving Jackson, Mississippi, or somewhere down there, right? Deke got his second Grand Pass type deal. Got his title. We're leaving Jackson. You had to go to Chris's to pick up a dog, right?
Yep.
Yep. So
I'm trying to remember. Remember as you go.
okay, yep. So I'm in the passenger seat. You're driving. Chris is driving by himself in his huge entourage of a trailer. Your huge entourage of a trailer, and we're driving. And then Chris is like swerving all over the place going down the road. Okay, he's tired. He's not. I mean, not like swerving. Like he's just.
He's distracted a little bit.
He's tired, right? And
Yeah,
of course,
he's tired.
yeah. This is back before like phones and all that kind of jazz. And
It was flip phone days. TTT, That was the.
that's another story about us though too. But anyway, so Chris like Jobby calls Aiken and it was like, "Hey, are you tired?" He was like, "Yeah, buddy, I'm tired." He's like, "Why don't you pull over? Jim's gonna drive." And he's like, "Okay, we're going through Memphis." He crosses 4 lanes of traffic with a dog trailer safely, by the way. Pulls over. We pull over. I get out. Chris Aiken gets out, jumps in the passenger seat. I jump in the driver's seat, And this is when Boomer was still alive, by the way, too.
Yeah, Boomer's in the back seat.
Yep. Boom's in the back seat. And, of course, Chris was like, I mean, not Chris, you, Chris. Chris Aiken was like, oh, my God, I need your autograph. You know, you are a celebrity. So I'm like awestruck. And, of course, I'm driving his rig. Boomer's licking my ear. And I'm like, Chris, where do I go? Chris put his floppy hat down. He said, follow the Tom-Tom to the kennel.
Tom-Tom.
Tom-Tom. I'm like, okay. So, that's just a really good story. You can edit that however you want. But, yeah, that's just a...
We don't edit
no
all.
editing
We just
going
tell
on.
it how it is.
Yeah, it just
We
rolling
tell it
out.
how it is. I'm going to tell you, I've been following Aiken across this country for 18 and 19 years. He is not the guy you want to follow. He got us lost one time going to the SRS in Michigan. We got lost in Chicago. And he went through, and we got there. I got there hours, and I'm like, where the hell is he at? I mean, this was hours. I made the right turn. He went through downtown Chicago with his gooseneck dog. And he's like, where'd you go? He's like, this damn Tom-Tom. And it was the Tom. I mean, it was, you don't ever want to follow him anywhere. I can promise you that. Ever. But let's yeah, what else, John Michael? There's so many stories that we've been together for so long that I remember. Were you in South Dakota that time when the wind was blowing 50 mile an hour trying to pre-train for the Grand? Were you up there during then?
Yes. Yep.
Do you remember that? Yeah, that was terrible. He laid all the holding blinds on the ground, the whole 9 yards. I think he passed that one. No, he broke in the fifth.
No, I broke in the fifth. It was me and Chelsea and Jim, I think, we had 3 amateurs in our group there.
I think if I remember right, that was a really tough Grand. And if I remember right, you guys were the only amateurs left in our flight for sure. Chelsea wasn't an amateur then because she was working for me. But I think you might have been the only amateur left in the fifth in our flight.
Yep. Honestly.
And then we affectionately call him Deke Head, of course, breaks in the fifth.
So that was handler error, though. That wasn't the dog's fault.
Well, he knows what to say. Yeah. But
I was tweet and Mike Botts came up and like, sir, you can't do that anymore. You can't.
You blew the whistle twice. You blew the whistle twice.
Yeah, and of course the dog wasn't going anywhere, but handling error.
Yeah, so at the Grand, once that bird comes up and you shoot your popper load, you can only blow the whistle. After you're done blowing the whistle and you shoot that popper load, you can't blow the whistle again. And Deke sat really nice on the flush and I don't even think he was moving, but he might have been a little bit. But Jon-Michael he shot his gun and then he was just nervous and blew the whistle again, and then you're automatically out. So I remember when that happened, that we were all watching because even to this day, all the amateurs in our group, we literally take pride in all them amateurs passing and doing well because that's a big thing for us. And I remember that was heartbreaking. That was absolutely heartbreaking. But you took it well and you learned from it, and the rest is history.
Yep. Yeah. You got one on them, and I got the other
3.
The other one. Yeah.
Yeah. But we'll have to have you post that video. I know you sent it to me. We'll have to have you post that video of Deke coming back of the SRS. That was cool. That was cool. We went all over the place. We ate a lot of sandwiches on Thanksgiving Day running that SRS. We'd go to the Wings of the Prairie in Stuttgart, and that was usually Thanksgiving weekend, I believe. And then we did all of that. But
I know you probably talked about this, but why did you guys stop participating in the SRS? I can't remember.
I did it because I got tired of traveling so much, and then they made the Master National an extra title. So now I'm running 8 weekend HRC tests. Now I'm running weekend master tests. I was running quals. I was running the SRS. I was running the Grand. And you have to decide. You have to choose something. You can't. It's really, really hard to expect your clients and your family and yourself to travel that much and never be home chasing the SRS and stuff down. And it was a fun game. Back in the day, it was really fun. We had a great time. There was a very small group of guys, and we ran all over the place. But I just had to make a decision what I wanted to do. And when I made the right one, just because the Master Nationals, it's such a big part of our business. We do so well at it. I couldn't do it all. So I just had to make a decision. And it was really hard to give that up and not do it. But we all kind of gave it up at the same time, me and Chris and, Scott Greer's back into playing. But there was a group of us that we just all kind of quit. We just got burnt out. But we helped start that whole deal. And it was a big boost for our career. But it's just, we couldn't hold that same level of dog for one, because it's so hard to ask a client to do all the games because it's very, very expensive. But we had to make a decision, and I decided not to run the SRS. It was scary because it really helped our career, my career, especially some of Chris's and everybody else's. But I've never really looked back, and we've been very successful. But that's the reason why I quit. And there was other issues of the SRS, so I'm not going to get into. But that's the main reason.
And Freddie's not involved in it at all anymore, too, right?
What's that?
Freddie's not involved at all in it anymore.
No, Freddie used to film it. He never ran it. He used to be on the film crew. Freddie King, as we're talking about, he is a phenomenal photographer and filmmaker and film guy, because he did all the echo call stuff and he did the SRS. And he was really, really good at it. But he was just on the camera crew back then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, but I tell you, it's hard to. Like Jim understands it. He's got, he had a 4-time Grand Dog Master Hunter SRS finalist. Once you have a dog like that, it's really hard to get back in the game because you compare every one of those dogs to that dog. And then you're like, oh, he's not good enough to do this, not good enough to do that. Once you've had that great animal, it's hard to simulate that great animal again. And unless you really, truly want to travel and do all those things, it just kind of goes away. It's hard to maintain that level of excellence all the time, unless like he wanted to retire and train gun dogs in Illinois, and that's what he's doing. But if you chase the SRS, it's a whole completely different lifestyle,
mm-hmm.
and it's not always the best lifestyle. It's a very hard one to maintain.
It's interesting.
Yeah, it's hard to ask them dogs if you'll chase 400-yard plastic bird. It's a tough deal to do. And it ends up fading out for some people.
Yep.
All right. Well,
John Michael, what else you got for us?
What else you want to talk about?
Hey, tell us if you had any advice. Let's talk about this. I know there's a lot of amateurs out there that listen to this that want to be a pro dog. We touched on it just a little bit, but if you're giving somebody advice on, hey, what do I need to do to be a professional dog trainer? What are the trials and tribulations? What's the pitfalls? What are the traps? And the honesty. Tell us what you're going to give somebody advice to about how to be a professional dog trainer.
So first thing would be
financial grounds and cost. How to deal with clients. Just all of it, because a lot of people don't understand the level it takes to do all this stuff.
Yep. So first thing would be, do not go into debt. Number one, don't take out a loan to go buy ground and dig up really good farm ground just to put a pond in. Have your kennels set up. I mean, there's all kinds of really good information, but you don't have to go into debt to do it. I mean, when I first met you,
getting a Facebook page and buying a trailer and putting your thing on Facebook, you're not a professional dog trainer. That's weird. That's a weird thought.
You are not a professional dog trainer at that point. Okay, but so go back to it. Okay, sit down. I'm talking to you. Sit down.
Okay,
Chris.
I'm looking at his face. He's like, "Oh man, here it goes."
Okay, so when I first met you, and I love you to death, you had a utility trailer, 3 created sport boxes, zipped down to that in a topper.
That's 100%.
My
first true.
And then where did you go from there?
Hold on, my true first hunting rig was a Power Stroke with a dog topper box and a homemade 10-hole dog trailer that I drug all over the country. And before I bought my goosenecks and all those things, that's how I started. And very, very modestly, very modest start. And I just built it from there. And John Michael's got a very good point. All these other guys are going out and buying these $100,000 rigs and throwing a Facebook page up. And then, they last 2 or 3 years, they don't make it because it's so expensive. And they've once, you're done stealing everybody else's dogs and that all that stuff gets, over with, it's hard to maintain that same deal. So John Michael did it right. He built his business for, little baby steps,
Mm-hmm. Right.
So what else, Jim? What else do you got for him?
Like concrete insulation, a vet that comes out on site, third party accountability for your vet at the kennel.
Yep. You learn that here.
What's that?
What do you guys mean by that? What's that mean? Third party accountability for vet. What's that mean?
Just to have somebody else come in at the kennel and do all your vet checks. So you're not loading them up and driving them to a kennel. The vet comes to the kennel, sees the kennel, all that kind of stuff. So Illinois, which, like Chris said, is a communist state, okay? but I have to have a kennel license, okay, to do what I do. In Tennessee, you can tie them up to a tree with a log chain and call that a kennel. We can't do that here. So we have to have a kennel license. I have a no-notice kennel inspector from Illinois that comes in and can check me whenever the heck he wants to.
We have the same thing here. Yeah, we have
which some people hate that. I'm a big fan of it.
I don't know.
Yep. I mean, just here, cool. Come in and check my stuff. All my stuff is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Go for it.
What about dealing with, because you, as an amateur, you don't ever have to deal with clients and expectations. But once, I know you ran hunt tests for a while, and it's very different to deal with clients and expectations that when you're like, everybody's a soccer dad, right? And everybody's dog is the greatest, and usually the dog doesn't work out. It's for some reason. It's dog training is the weirdest sport because when you have a child or a kid coming through grade school, junior high, high school, whatever, and they love to, let's just say they love to play football. And if they don't become a professional football player, the parents don't blame the coaches in the school. It's just their kid wasn't quite good enough. But for some reason in this sport, if their dog isn't the next Grand Hunter Retriever champion or the next whatever, they don't blame the dog. They blame us. And so the expectations coming, John Michael was at one point a paying client, and now he's a professional dog trainer. So the expectations, you never had to deal with those expectations until you started taking money. And that's a whole completely different ballgame.
Yep, correct. So I mean, us as professional dog trainers, we should try to make that dog the best dog he could possibly be.
Yep. Okay. And I always tell my guys, go ahead.
But set up on that is, with us being professional dog trainers, there has to be open communication all the way through that. To where I had clients drive down to, Mississippi and pick up 2 dogs for like 7 months, and that trainer, dogs are great. They drove 10 hours to go down there and pick those dogs up, and the first thing the dog trainer said was, these guys are gun shy.
Oh man,
that should have been a conversation months ago.
Yeah.
Versus they just jumped in the truck and drove 10 hours to go pick up their dogs, which they thought everything was great and golden. Should not have been that way. So I mean, open conversation.
Yeah.
I mean,
and with that being said,
for like young dog trainers getting into this is be honest with your clientele.
Yeah.
Or
and with that being said, the clientele also has to be man or woman enough to accept constructive criticism on the dog because you're being honest. There's a lot of people when you say that, then you literally just said that the kid's a blackboard licker. That you literally, if you say, hey, their dog is okay, not great, but we're good, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we're pulling him out, we're doing this, it's not good. Well, that's not what I said. I said the dog's moving slow. So as a client, you have to also be able to take the criticism and the harsh reality of it, because the second you're honest with people, really, really honest with people, you have one or two people. People will either love that or they hate it. And they don't want to hear the bad stuff, but you have to tell them the bad stuff. So as a client, you have to be willing to accept the bad stuff, deal with it, and talk to your trainer about it, not just pull the dog and say, okay, we're done. It's not going to make it. That's not what I said. Now, if I do say, hey, you need to come get this dog, this is the reason why, then we're done. But when you say, hey, it's just moving slow, it's progressing slow, it's going to be fine, you have to trust the trainer. And you have, because listen, you don't go get your knee fixed and tell the damn surgeon how to do it. You know what I'm saying? And you don't go I'm not going to the lowest bidder to get my knee worked on. I can promise you that. Usually what you pay for is what you get.
Yeah. So you're so this is bringing back old stories again. Dozer. Yellow
Great
Dozer.
Dog.
Great dog.
Great dog. He's like my yellow dog on my logo. He's a great dog.
Yeah. But he didn't pass a grand until he was like 7, right? Or 6?
No, he was a lot younger than that.
Which dog was that?
Here's a good story about Dozer. Here's a good story about Dozer. He had 4 grand passes. He was a lot younger than that when he got his grand title. But I remember I ran him in a finish test in Colorado, and Dozer owner Tom, I picked him up. I can't remember if it was a spring. It was a spring test, spring or fall. I can't remember. But I ran him in a finish test like a month before the grand. And he was moving around and creeping and stuff. And I picked him up at a finish test. And he didn't have a match title or nothing. He was just an HRCH. And I told Tom, I said, hey, man, this is going back to what we were talking about. I called Tom up, and I said, hey, man, I picked him up this weekend. He was moving around too much. I wasn't going to condone that, kind of behavior. Not going to make him any more test-wise than he already is. I picked him up. We're done with the weekend hunt test. We'll get ready for the grand. He's like, well, he's not going to the grand. I said, well, why not? Well, he can't pack a weekend finish test. He doesn't deserve to go to the grand. I said, he would have passed a weekend finish test. I picked him up to save his career, to save that shit. And they couldn't understand why I did it. And unless you're willing to eat your entry fee and pick up a dog at a test, you don't understand, because that's not the goal. The goal for Dozer was never just an HRCH. It was all of it. And looking back on it, I picked him up, and a month later he passed his first grand. So that's where you need to trust your trainer and listen to him, because he's trying to do. Typically, they're trying to do the right thing for the dog.
Yep. And then of course the story where I almost got kicked out of HRC too. You remember that one?
Oh no, I forget about that one.
Yeah.
What did you do?
My wallet. I had to handle the bill, and I jumped into the water because Deke head broke, and I roped him and drug him all the way back up to your. Yeah, so yeah, you grand rep, or the rep was there at the trailer. He's like, hey, of course he's shaking his finger at me, being like, hey, you didn't listen to me. That's the best thing you could have done with that dog, and good for you. But I'm like screaming at you at the moment.
That was the best thing you could have done for sure. It saved his career, and Deke was along the line. So, But John, go back to where we were just talking about. Jim's right. You got to be open and honest with your clients, but you also, as a client, don't how am I going to say this and be nice about it? Don't overstay your welcome, and don't pester too much, because we're all very busy. Whether you're just training gun dogs or hunt test dogs or both or all of it, we're all very busy. And so pick your point. Pick your times when you're going to talk to them. Not every week and not every 3 days, just check in every once in a while, but be honest, and they have to learn to accept it. They have to learn to accept that brutal, advice or brutal constructive criticism among their dog. Anyway, what else?
Yep.
We're
Mr.
still on?
Yep. Well, we're still on. I don't know. I mean, interesting story. Interesting. Anytime you go from, I think a lot of amateur trainers have that like dream of, man, because amateur trainers are normally slaving their 9 to 5 and they're doing a lot of training stuff. So I'm sure a lot of them, not myself, but a lot of them have like dreams and aspirations of, man, that would just be so wonderful to get to do that. And I'm sure it's probably because I've been around a Chris and seen his operation enough to know what a grind it is for you guys. I mean, man. And now you're your own boss, which is awesome. But at the same time, it's like you're still a slave to the system.
It sucks.
So the grass is always greener. I still say if you love dogs, if you love dogs and you love training, that you guys still need to take a moment and appreciate the fact that you're your own boss and you're doing something you love. No job, once you get in the midst of it, isn't going to suck. I mean, because you're doing it every single day. And no one, even you take your best hobby, like you're being, I love waterfowl hunting. I just want to be a guide. Well, then, Chris, you start doing that and you're dealing with these people you don't really know and they're some of them are assholes and like all of that, like hobby excitement for it just gets sucked right out of you. And that's
the greatest way to hate your hobby is to make it your job. For sure.
Right. But I still say that's better than doing something you already hate going into.
Well, you're right. You're right. But I just think, and John Michael, you haven't said it yet, but you built your business with steps. Like you literally had a plan and you had baby steps for years and years and years. You just didn't say, screw it, I'm going to do this. Here's what I'm doing. You didn't mortgage the house. I mean, you didn't go crazy to build your business. You built it, slowly, and you learned how to train dogs, and you took $200 and $150 a month and, those sort of things. And you did it right by, touching lots of dogs and working hard. But the dogs is the easy part of all this. It's the owners and the day-to-day grind. It's the hard part. It's the expectations are tough and it's easy. This is going to sound crazy, but it's easy to kind of get to the top. It's really, really hard to stay there. It's really, really hard. And because everybody's looking to knock you down because everybody's knowing the next person's coming up wants your spot, but it's really hard to stay on the top.
Yeah. So I already know the answer to this, Chris, but are you more in it for the dog or the owner? As far as
you hired me to train your dog, I'm going to train your dog. I'm not there to stroke your ego. I'm not there to make you feel good. You hired me to train your dog. I am going to train your dog, and that's what I get paid to do. And I will always, and as a professional dog trainer, you need to communicate with your owners for sure. But your owners also they're paying you. They should trust you as well. And if you hire me to train your dog, not stroke your ego. And that's what I'm going to do. And I guess if you don't like that route that we're going to do, then you can go someplace else that you want somebody to stroke your ego and take your money, go ahead. Because eventually that dog's going to go find a different trainer because it's not working out. So it's not always cupcakes and rainbows. You got to be honest. But like you just said, you hired me to train your dog. And I am in it for the dog. I'm not in it for the owner. I'm sorry to say that. And that's the honest God fact. But that's how you need to be dog first.
Yeah, and of course, that goes back to all the amateur questions of people getting into this, wanting to be professional dog trainers and stuff. They need to understand you're training a dog, not training an owner. But at the same time, all those are going to come into that mating type deal to where mesh type deal or whatever you want to call that, to where you got to train them both.
And you have to train them both. You're 100% right. And dogs are easy. Some of the clientele, which I have great clientele, a lot of them are really, really good friends, but they're hard to train the people. And it's just because your dog was at training for 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 months doesn't mean that dog is going to be the same dog with you as it was with the trainer. They have a different relationship. So when John Michael would run Deke in hunt tests, he wouldn't run for John Michael like he would run for me, because John Michael had a different relationship with Deke, and they were buddy, lovey, and so Deke would take advantage of Deke. Deke would take advantage of John Michael to test, where he wouldn't do that with me. So that's why, and it had nothing to do with John Michael wasn't as good of a trainer or as good of a handler. He was great at both. Deke was a different dog with me, and that's why we had so much success, because before I got Deke, he was out of damn control. He was out of control, running around like a maniac. We put control on him, and then I taught Jon-Michael how to deal with that control and keep him under control so he could be successful. And he was a pro. When Deke was a pro, we call them pro dogs, where he's too much for an amateur. But if you stay at the game long enough and work hard and truly listen and train the dog, you can get a lot of good stuff out of it. But don't think that dog is going to be the same for the owner as it is for the trainer. It's a different mentality for the dog. Different.
So I got one more story, and I'll let you guys go because I know you guys are bored with it. But
we're not bored. Listen, I want to tell these stories for so long. Just get it all out. Get it out.
So 8-point wagon wheel. Chris said,
"Oh God,
this is after this meeting. You need to put him on 8-point wagon wheel." And I'm like, okay, you need to burn him to death on all of that. Just whistle, sit, all that kind of stuff. So we did 8-point, and of course I called Chris like a week later. I'm like, dude, he's not even doing it.
Stop! I didn't say burn him to death. I didn't say burn him to death. I didn't say burn him to death. I didn't say that. Sorry.
Accurate pressure to those points of correction. But anyway, so that's what we did. And of course, I called Chris. I'm like, he's popping. He's not doing anything. Chris is like, perfect. Keep going.
He thought. So I gave Jim literally a regimen of here's what you need to do with Deke. I said, don't panic. It's going to get better before it gets worse. I promise. Promise. Or it's going to get worse before it gets better, but he'll be fine. I promise. And he's like, oh my God, you're ruining my dog. My dog won't do this. Oh my God. I said, Jim, I promise you, it's going to get worse before it gets better, but he is going to be fine. He just doesn't know the new rules. He doesn't know the rules. And it would be oh my God, you're right, I'm ruining him. I said, you'll be fine. And I had to talk about the ledge a whole bunch of times, and the rest was history. He turned out to be phenomenal. But that's what you do with like those amateur dogs that are 100% momentum trained like Deke was. You have to get control of them. So you almost have to, this is a bad way to phrase it, but you almost have to tear them down and build them back up. Because the talent's still there, and the line. Deke was a phenomenal liner, and my marker, all that talent's still there. But now you're putting more control on them when you should have started that from the very beginning. But if you have to go back and put control on them, it messes with their head. They literally start freaking out. The dog's freaking out. The owners are freaking out. It's all going to be fine. You just got to build them back up and do it correctly. And that's what Jon-Michael did, and he ended up being a phenomenal dog. But the process of that, if you remember, Jim. The process of that it's heartbreaking. You're scared to death because you're ruining your dog. I mean, you're literally scared to death. But that's where you have to trust your pro and the process if you got a good one. Okay. Well, anything else?
No, you're tired. I can see you. I'm over it.
You what?
I said you're tired. You're over it.
I got another podcast. I just walked in the house. We're training all day. It's beautiful. It's 75 degrees here today. Finally, the wind's not howling. So, yeah. No, we're good. If you want to keep talking, let's talk. I don't care. I got nothing else to do.
All right. So, all right. One more question.
I did get more.
I know. So, let's talk about momentum training versus start at 6 months. What's the great plan there? I mean, of course, I know it depends on dogs and all that kind of stuff and personalities. And I mean, there's not like a right way to do this depending on the dog.
So exactly what's the question again?
What's the right way? Momentum, or hammer?
So there's a saying out there. I'm going to probably screw this up. Build momentum and precision will come. So when the dog is 6 months old, you want to build momentum, you want to build desire, you want to build prey drive, you want to build all those things. Now, depending on the dog, with Deke, which is your first dog, you didn't see the warning signs of line manners and independence and breaking. You didn't see those signs because you didn't know what to look for. But a dog like Deke that had so much momentum and so much desire, that momentum training was good, but it needed to be backed off just a little tiny bit because he was all momentum. We had to break him down. So if you've got a dog at 6 months old that's a wild child, you want to put more control on him. If you got a dog that's a little more sensitive, like a British type dog, or a dog that's a little bit more sensitive and a little bit, nervous, then you want to build momentum. So it's like you said, it's dog dependent. Like Elliott's dog, Georgie, is got plenty of momentum. She could have been backed off the momentum at a much younger age and put control on her. But like Elliott didn't know any different either, right? You never had a dog with that much power. So it's dog dependent. And like I said, if it's a sensitive type dog that needs more prey drive, you build momentum. If it's a dog that's more like Deke as a puppy, you back up with the momentum and you add more control. And that's the fine line as a trainer that you've got to figure out what that dog needs and what that dog doesn't need, and go from there. That's the hard part about everything, because I can't train like how I train Deke. I couldn't train a softer dog the way I trained Deke because they never would have made it. But Deke had so much desire that you could lay on Deke. But that's what made him great too, is his desire and his want to. But I think if you'd have put more control on him as a puppy, I think we could have, not had to get into him so much as far as line manners and control. I think, but you didn't know, so that's the key. Yeah, but a lot of your gun dog stuff, you guys do lots of momentum or a lot of control. Because the gun dog, do you train a lot of dogs for a lot of guides?
I do.
Yeah, so they got to have some control because that's dangerous. Breaking in front of people and you just never know what's going to happen.
Yep, and of course that's the problem with a gun dog trainer or gun dog pro is it's so much control very early. And the dogs turn into robots at that point.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Nobody wants a robot, but still, they are robots.
Yeah.
It's go here, splash there, get that bird, bring it back. Let's go pick this one up and tweet. Go that way.
Yeah. You do a little bit different stuff than we do. We don't get our gun dog program is more of. That's 4 to 6 month deal, and if they see the bird fall, they'll go get it. Their obedience condition, collar condition, force fetch condition, the gun for our decoys, all the stuff. But like where you're at, where you train a lot of guide dogs, you probably have to put them through chaos. I mean, it's almost like chaos breaking. They have to get used to the chaos so they can handle that chaos in the actual field. So It's a little bit different. So. All right, man. Well, we got to do another one. John Michael, do you got anything else? Closing statement? Tell everybody you need to, before you go, tell everybody where you're at, the name of your business, where they can find you, all that stuff, so that if anybody out there in Illinois wants to get out and get a gun dog trained, John Michael's your man. I can promise you that.
Okay, yep. Rull Route Retrievers, Illinois. We're just going to do that. We don't need a location. You can look me up on the website.
But you can't be 500 feet from a school, right? I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding.
I love you so much.
Things have not changed. I'm totally kidding. So, John, I want John Michael. Please post that video link on our Facebook page, and that's Huntsville, Alabama, where Deke came back from nowhere to damn near win it. So,
yeah.
I don't think he's ever close to winning.
He got screwed there though too, because
I'm not getting into that. You 100% did. Deke 100% did. I'm not getting into that because I don't want to open up an old flesh wound that I'm still pissed about. I told that story today. We had my trainers here and Grant here, and I was telling that story today. And about Deke and SRS, that was one of the beginnings of the end for me in SRS. And I told that story today, and I still got pissed. So I'm not even bringing it up. But Deke did not. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Yep. I attack it.
Anyway, I'm not even bringing it up. I'm not even going to talk about it.
I'll just post a video, no comments to your page.
You're just posting a video, and it was he did a phenomenal job. John Michael, thanks for coming on. It was a blast.
Yes,
if you ever want to get out of the socialist state of Illinois, come out this way. We'd love to have you.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Go from there. Elliott, you got anything else?
I don't. I appreciate you coming on with us, John. Hang on after I hit stop. Don't leave yet. We need to make sure everything's all uploaded. But thank you for coming and hanging out with us for a while.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Jim. Hey, see everybody at the line. Yeah, okay. We'll see everybody at the line. Take that aim.